All right, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We are live. It is a interesting day today. It is our first ever 209th ever live stream episode. So welcome to this historic 209th live stream edition or episode. Today, what are we going to be doing today? Today, we are going to create a couple new hero sections for our Webflow component library, which we are building, and it's called Pixel Pieces. And our goal with Pixel Pieces, and maybe Pixel as a whole, with our kind of whole parent company, I guess you could say, is of course to make $1 million in revenue every single year. That's what we're working towards. It's been about a year. We are 10% there, and hopefully in the next few years we'll get to the remaining 90%. That's still missing. That still eludes us. So, Pixel Pieces components. So we are getting pretty close. I was doing some work last night on updating some of these older components that I made. Well, I mean older. I mean they're still pretty new, but I have some testimonial here. Just updated them to go into the actual quote HTML structure. So that actual there's the quote. What's it called? Element within Webflow. I did some updates, just a little bit of updating to the pricing table, just making sure the icons, everything is really consistent. And I think once everything is all said and done, we'll go over the whole colors and everything, or maybe lack thereof, because we want to make these as components. So they're not going to be styled or designed too much, but I still want everything to look obviously really consistent. And yeah, the subscribe, I think we went over that yesterday in the accordion. So we're going to go over now the hero section. So we have this hero section here. And I think this is a little bit interesting. And how do we actually display these hero sections? What's going to be the best way to show people that this is a hero section? So as an example, right here on these testimonial pages, or all the pages where we just go, say, to a footer, we have this information here, right on the top right hand corner. And the nav bar, some more information. So I'm wondering how to display the hero sections, especially if they're just going to be like a full page thing, because we can't actually have other things here. So we might just have something here on the top corner. I'm not so sure, because there's two different things. There's one, the overview of what it's going to look like when you're actually viewing the component. And then the second is the actual image that we're going to take, that we're going to use when we're actually looking at the components on Pixel Pieces. So those are a couple things that we're going to need to figure out. But let's not worry about that right now, because what we want to do is we want to actually build a couple different components. And I've given some thought to a couple hero section components. So I've given some thought as to different things that we can do for this hero section. And I don't want to do too many, because I think a lot of them are very similar. So we're going to do a couple of them that are going to have the same elements to them, and then we are going to probably put them in different layouts that are maybe slightly different. And I think you'll see what I mean once we get into it. So we're going to create a new folder to drop all of our hero contents and our hero sections in, or our hero components, I guess we should say. Again, I keep forgetting. I got to zoom in here so that you guys can see. I see a little bit better. Rolando, greetings. How are you doing today? Nice to see you here. Hope you're having a good one. Another day in the office, another day closer to, I don't know, getting more work done, working on our goals. And let's just throw this. Let's move that in there. Let's bring this up here a little bit. Okay, so we want to create a new hero section. I'm going to create one basically from scratch. I'm not going to go over the old hero page. And what I want to do actually is, if we can open this, let's just duplicate this page. And we're going to just call this hero, maybe 2, I guess. Just for now, put this in the hero section and create. Okay, so this is hero with, I don't know, this is going to be like a 2-column hero section. And we'll call that hero. hero 2. We need to get much better class names, but again, we'll worry about that later. Once we have everything done, I think we can do some little cleanups and touch-ups as we go. Okay, so right, let's delete all of that. So we're gonna have a new hero section or component. So I think it's going to go in, actually it needs to go here. And this is going to be hero-2. Okay, and this is going to be a 2-column layout. So hero-2, and it's basically right side, left side, but we're not going to call it right side, left side because they could differ depending on what CSS class or property you put on it. So we're just going to call it hero, maybe the hero2 image, and then we're going to have hero2. I want to call it call to action. I don't know if that's because let's just call it hero2, maybe just the content. Yeah. So you have the content and the image. Okay, so this hero2, we're going to display it as a grid, a simple 2-column grid, and a gap between them. We'll set it to 3, kind of maybe our generic gap that we have for everything. Okay, so, oh wait, what's wrong with this? There's something wrong with this grid. 2 columns. Oops, I deleted one. Okay. All right. We need a sample. Well, we can just throw the placeholder for now. Oh, this needs to go in the actual image. I'm going to throw this onto the left side for now because 9 times out of, well, I don't say 9 times out of 10. I have no idea about what the actual percentage is, but most of the time I see the content on the left side and then the hero image on the right side. Of course, that's definitely not a rule. Just kind of what usually happens when the eye kind of goes to the left side first once a page loads. Just how it is, especially if you're reading right to left, or left to right, I should say. So hero, actually, what we're going to do, we're going to rename this one. Not hero2 image, but hero2 underscore image. We're going to put that as a container, and this is the image itself. So now we obviously want the width to be 100%. And what should we set for the height? This is very, very tricky because we have no idea what image someone's going to put in here. And it might not even be an image. It could be an animation. It could be all kinds of different things. It could even be a video. It could be animated GIF. It could be lots of different things. So we'll leave it here at 100% width and auto height for now. And then we'll see if we should put any kind of placeholder or anything in there. I'm not so sure. But we might want to set a minimum height though. All right, let's just see what we're going to put here in the container. So, or in the content. Okay, so I think what we can do is we can really get a lot from this section right here, where we have the title, the subtitle, and the text. Should we actually, you know what? I might actually want to change the form now that I think about it. I'm just going to take a screenshot of this. Maybe something like this, just so I can see. And I'm going to stick it. I'm just going to stick it in here and put it off to the side, just so I can look back on it, just so I can see what class structures I used. And then when we go here, could not get to page. That was weird. What happened there? Okay. So we have our heading. Welcome to our awesome website. Okay. And this is a subsection of the hero. Below the hero title to give you a better idea of who we are or what we do. Whatever. Placeholder text for now. And then we're going to go with, then you just generally just have your buttons, right? We have our button, and this one, I think we're going to do a reverse button, and then another button, and we're going to put this in a group. There we go. And so that is your very simple, standard, generic hero section. But what I also like, or what other people also do, is put in the subscribe form. So I think what we can do, instead of going from scratch, I think what we should do is probably duplicate from this subscribe form. That should have a 0 margin there at the bottom. If we copy this into here, so we have our subscribe form, and I think we should probably give it a different ID here. This should be hero to subscribe form, and change that ID. Okay. And get rid of the stuff that is not going to be pertinent to this type of form. So I'm not going to need this. Probably it'll just be a name. So name, enter your name. And why did that stick? Oh, geez. That's putting the wrong spot. Can I undo that? Can I undo what I did? Right. So enter your name. I didn't put it in the actual placeholder. I put it in the text name. Not the right spot. Okay. Enter your name, enter your email address. And that's subscribe. And I think what we can do, we can put a heading here, but this will be a second heading. And our subscribe, or maybe we should have, maybe be more of a join. Or sign up. Sign up today. And now I'm thinking, should we change? Oh, I think we should change the class and the ID of this subscribe form, or not the ID, just the class. because I want this subscribe form to be either in a grid or displayed flex so that everything is horizontal, not vertical like it is now. So, and I can't do any changes to the subscribe form class. Otherwise, it'll mess up the other one. We could do a combo class. Does it make sense to do a combo class? Because really what we want to do it's actually right here on the subscribe form. Let's just say, maybe we could do this one is like horizontal. And then we could, let's display it in a grid. I think will look probably the best. So we keep, what is the grid? The grid, yeah, the grid messes up the button a little bit. If we flex it instead, flex gives us issues as well. And it's not quite aligned. There's always some spacing issues. Do most sign-up sheets even have a name? A lot of them don't. But I like the idea of keeping it there. Easier for a user to delete than it is to add, for the most part. But then we don't want to have to delete too much. Okay, if we keep it here, so what's going on here? Why does this button have this weird padding? Or it's just, there's something weird going on here. And that's because the spacing here, possibly. No, I think we're going to have a new class for this form. Okay, so one moment here. Let's open up our cut and paste project. Clipboard is empty. Okay, interesting. Remove all these styles. Subscribe form. Copy. Oh, no. And paste. Okay. So we're going to rename client first. Folders. So what should we rename it? Hero-2 subscribe form? Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Could always, yes, ready. We could always change it if we feel that it doesn't make sense anymore. But I like it. Of course, it doesn't work for this main one for whatever reason. Hero-2 underscore subscribe form. Okay. So now I'll take this, copy this, delete this, and then paste. Rename 3 classes, right? And I think what it renamed is probably, yeah, the message and the buttons, which is annoying. Where's the button? So button, and that's just going to go message, and then message to our message, and then if it's an error message. Okay, so hero subscribe form 2. So now we could have a little bit more flexibility. We're going to display it. We're going to flex it. Oh, no, my bad. Not here. Here. The actual form, which is actually a weird name. Oh my goodness, yeah, these are weird. We only want to have basically usually just one underscore in each of these class names. Oh, wait, that's already done. Okay. So this is the one that we need to flex. So we flex that, align it all at the bottom. These guys are going to have, oops, nope, 0 margin on the bottom. And now we can see there is a 2 pixel difference between the button and the input fields. And I think that has to do with the border that's going around the input fields. Oh, this should be form input. One quick thing here. Let's just do our little gap here. Maybe that's too much. Maybe we'll just go half. Okay, so how are we going to fix this issue? So is the form input, does it need to be, does it need to have a box border around it? Hang on, CSS box border. I think we want this. Let's see if that works. Let's just see here. So that's form underscore input box sizing border box. See if that helps by putting the actual border on the inside, not on the outside. No, it doesn't. Okay. Well, maybe, ooh, actually it doesn't display here. Maybe if I go here, no, that won't work. Let's see if it's actually on there. No. No, none of that's going to work. Nope, that's not going to work. Okay. How do we deal with this issue? Okay. I mean, if this button, if it gets more padding, it goes up. Okay, interesting. How are we going to solve this problem? This thing has a minimum height. I mean, that's equal, but is that going to be equal all the time? I don't know. And that might not work on every browser. I'll have to investigate. I'm going to make a note of this in my Asana here. Let's go to, where's our project here? Okay. Components. Investigate the height of inputs and buttons when side by side, either flex or grid. What do we want to say? We want them to be same height. The button and the input text, not fields, boxes. Right. Okay. Why don't I use the CH value to define the minimum height of the field? So yeah, I do have a minimum height of the field here. CH, you know what? To be honest, I'm not familiar with CH, so maybe that could be a problem that I don't know. So it is a property that I don't know too much about, to be 100% honest, which is kind of strange. But what is CH? CH. The advanced measure width of the glyph 0 of the element's font. So, okay. Are we going to run into issues depending on the person's font choice? Yeah, so I don't know. To be honest, I'm not sure how that would work. I'd have to actually play with this unit and see what it does. 'Cause, yeah, just being 100% honest, I've never used it. So I just like my REMs and EMs sometimes are just generally like what I use. So, and the viewport stuff as well too, but in terms of fonts. So I haven't used it, so I don't know how it would behave. So I'll do some investigating tonight, and then I'll see if that makes sense. Let's see. Check out CH unit, if that would help solve the issue. One thing that I want to mention too, or just to think about, is keeping things consistent. So having the same unit spread across the whole project. So that's one thing to consider as well. And I don't know how CH will change based on if someone increases or decreases the size of their font in their browser. Okay, so sign up today. So that's looking pretty good. Next to, of course, the fact that nothing's actually aligned nicely. So let's work on some alignment here. So let's go into So I don't think you will have problems since you are defining the height of the field. So the letters you have in your predefined search engine is the height that is used. Or predefined, I guess it would be in the like in the browser. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'll investigate. I'll look into that and see what we can do. Thanks for the tip. Much appreciated. Okay. So for this hero section, we'll probably align it here in the middle. So is this a horizontal or vertical alignment? Center. Ugh. Center. We're centering it horizontally, I think. Don't quote me on that. I always get those two confused. So, okay, we have the hero section. Let's work on our styling here. So the line height, okay. So that's the same. what should we do to add styling to this? And by styling, I just mean spacing, really. We can throw... We can throw everything here in a group and align it vertically and space it that way, which I don't think is ideal. We could add a class to our heading and subheading. Yeah, this is tricky. Or what we can do is we can just use something like this. Border bottom 1 on this element, and just give it a border bottom of 1 unit, which is kind of what we want, right? And then the same thing for this. We haven't done this in the style sheet yet, but we're going to. We're going to add all these classes because I just use them way too many times. And we might actually want to change this one. Maybe something like this. Whoop. Actually, it's not border. You want it to be called margin. Gotta get my class names much more specific. All right, margin bottom 1. That's almost too much. Let's just go with 2. All right. Yeah, this one here is a little bit tricky because generally speaking, you're not going to be using both a sign up form and like these 2 buttons all within your hero section. And if that's the case, should we make this one an H1 heading? No, I think a user, no, I think they can figure it out on their own in terms of what parts they want to cut and what parts they want to keep. All right. So this, I might do heading style like H3 or maybe even H4. Heading style H4. And again, can I do not border bottom, margin bottom, maybe 1. And let's, yeah, see, this is where I hate doing this, adding a class to this, because it could throw someone off when they cut and paste this thing. Why there's this little bit of an extra padding or margin on the bottom of this element. I just want to be careful of divitis, where you just have the habit of just throwing everything in a div just to try to fix your layout issues, which I never like doing when I was writing code by hand, and certainly don't like doing it now that we're using Webflow. Ooh, boy. Maybe this is where we can throw in a spacer. Maybe that'll be the best thing. And yeah, I can't use these small, medium, huge, large, extra small. I can't do it anymore. It's just, I don't know what size they are, and trying to figure out what's what is just, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Okay. Okay, so there we go. There we have a, I mean, it looks simple, obviously, because it's not styled or designed at all, but it has all the basic elements. Am I missing anything? Is there anything, Rolando, that you can think of that I might be missing here? Obviously, I haven't defined this image in any way whatsoever, except to give it 100% width. So as this thing goes smaller, I mean, it's going to look a little bit more awkward. Yeah, I think we could leave it at that. Awesome. Okay, perfect. I like that. No changes. That's easy. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's the idea, to make everything's customizable, so people can envision what it is that they want to do into their project, and should be very easy enough to just look at a few of these things and just delete, and then away you go. Okay, so now let's add this for mobile. Okay, so I think when you're looking at a tablet, now it's tough to say on a tablet if we should keep it. How does it look on mobile? Yeah, exactly. That's what we're starting with right now. The question is, at what point do we break this from a 2-column layout to a 1-column layout? And also, one thing that I haven't had to worry about yet with mobile, actually, you know what? I haven't really done very much mobile styling, now that I think about it, because I haven't really had to. One second here. Well, I think I have maybe with the blog section. Yeah, the blog section. Yeah. So one thing I'm wary of doing is when we make these components responsive for mobile, at what point do we change the actual sizing of the fonts? That's where I'm having a little bit of thoughts going into my mind in terms of what do we do about that. And like the footer, so everything I've done so far in mobile has been to just change the layout, but I haven't changed anything with fonts. And that might be something to do on the style sheet. But not everything is going to be on the style sheet. Okay. Questions. That's usually what I do as well too. When you're reducing things in size. But the issue, okay. Yeah, don't worry about the size of the fonts. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Everyone has their own ways of how they're doing things for mobile. So, and you have your own way, which is perfect. So I think what we'll do, and over here, even worrying about margins, I'm not worrying too much about them because everything is going to be full width to whatever wrapper individual user is going to use. So I think what we'll do is basically when you're into tablet, I think we're just going to change that. We're going to update our grid here to go from a 2-column to a 1-column. And should the image come first or second? I think it really depends on the image, and I think it depends on the site. But more often than not, I would imagine you're going to want to go with the text first. But if somebody wants to change that, they can easily change that. So we'll do that. And for the padding around the gap in between, I think we'll leave it at 3 units. Because again, it totally depends on how the image is. If it's animation, what have you. And okay, that stays. And then when we get to phone, okay, so this is what, landscape? Yeah, it's called landscape. Should we collapse the subscribe form? Or should we wait till we get to here on landscape? Or, sorry, on portrait. I think my gut is telling me that we should do it here on landscape. But however, I'm just gonna grab my phone here, my old school Pixel 2 phone. What site has a subscribe form? Oh, my site does. Let's check out my site. What did I do for my site and what does it look like? Okay. Subscribe form. Okay. So I have a subscribe form here on mobile. I don't know if you can see this. I'll bring this up here. Is that going to focus? It's too far. There we go. So basically it's taking up the full width. And if you can see here, like on the whole phone, like it's taking up the full width. It's also taking up the full height of my whole phone. So I can't see anything above or below. So I'm tempted. I think there would be enough space on a phone in landscape that having these things side by side like this in a 3-column layout, I think will work. I think it'll work. So then what we'll need to do, the only thing we need to do is on here, on portrait, then we're going to flip it to vertical. I think that's the only way that's good. Yeah, I think that's the only way that's going to make sense. And then we want to stretch everything out the full width. And I am having some issues here. And I think these issues, we'll go here. So it'll lose points in SEO accessibility. What exactly will lose points for SEO that we're doing here? Because we're just moving the layouts. Is there something else that? Yeah, let me know. Let me know what you mean. I don't want to do that. Never want to lose points, especially SEO points. This group button here. Do we need to collapse this? Because this is causing this thing not to be able to go to the minimum here. But I wonder if we have this group button and if we wrap it, that should allow it to wrap. There we go. That's much better. So we'll do that. So if I leave the form in 2 lines on the cell phone horizontally, the form on 2 lines. So you mean the way that I have it now that it's stacked? So what I'll say when I was looking at the form, it was basically like this on landscape mode, right? Where it has the name, email address, and then the subscribe button. So those 3 are stacked. Are you saying that loses SEO points instead of it being like name, email, and then subscribe button, like having them all horizontally? Like, is there an actual difference? Because semantically, it's exactly the same. It's just laid out. It's just laid out differently, right? Yeah, certainly something I don't want to do. Because yeah, I mean, when we're doing this mobile responsiveness, at least in here, we're not messing with the HTML structure at all in any way whatsoever. So I would imagine it would still say the same, but maybe I'm missing something. This, we need to update that in the style guide. Let me go to the style guide here. Let's go to our dashboard, and here I think is our final style guide. And I'm going to do this now before I forget, because I will. Let's go down to our button group right here. So I think what we want to do is when we get to maybe even to here, we will add a wrap. Or maybe you should just wrap all the time. Oh, it's going to wrap there. Oh, that's not good. That's weird. That shouldn't wrap right now. It should only wrap if necessary. Okay, note to self. Got to make another note of this. Okay, I see what you mean. People with people with large fingers. Interesting. So Google is that sophisticated that if it sees that your form is too wide, that it's going to reduce your SEO scores and accessibility. I guess there are different tools I think that you can use to scan your website for accessibility and what its score would be. So maybe that's something to do for these components, is run it through some kind of whatever accessibility checker or what have you. Because I think there actually is one for Google. So I see what you're saying. But so it's better to have them to scroll vertically than to have less space horizontally by having things in multiple columns, if I'm hearing that correctly. And if that's the case, then we'll move it. We'll switch it. I'm just grabbing a pen here to take some notes. Actually, I'll throw it in Asana again. Can we add? Okay. You thought that after creating the element, you checked it in rich text and accessibility tools. I've actually never done that. Is there an accessibility tool within Webflow? That would be pretty cool. There could be. I've never seen it or never even thought of looking into that. But we should. That's a really good point, thinking about accessibility, because I mean, I always do things that I know to do, especially with the terms of HTML structure and what have you. But there's also a whole new thing about SEO scores and making sure those are tip top. Okay, perfect. Okay, making notes, got my notes, things to investigate. Excellent. All right, so with all that being said, let's go back to here. Let's change that. And we go to Hero 2 and landscape. And now we'll do this vertical, but we'll align it to the left. Do these have a width? Maybe. Let's give, what can we do here? Maybe we can give these a width. What can we give them? Maybe a minimum width, because we don't want it to go too small. Okay, that's way too big. Maybe something like 25. So that way it has a little bit of character. It doesn't have to go full width of the whole width of the screen. And then we go in here. Maybe that's too much design stuff I'm thinking of. And then for here, we just change it to center here. And I think we have a problem. We need to put this a max width of 100%. Oh, this isn't. Shit. Wait, I'm thinking something wrong here. What's going on? The maximum we could go is 100. The minimum 25. But then here, it's still going to be minimum 25, which we don't want. Okay. Scratch this. And let's let the user decide. I think that will be good. We'll let the user decide. And then here, yeah, then here we go. Full width. Okay. Good. All right. Barring any potential accessibility issues, I think we have ourselves a hero section. Although I do want to give a little bit more to this text. Oops, not here. Let's go back to here. I think this text should just stick out just a little bit more. Let's give it a class, hero-2, just subtitle. And we want this. We're just going to make the font just a little bit bigger. And this line height should be there. There's a problem with line heights. We need to fix that as well. Okay. Yeah, so that hero section or subtitle should just be a little bit bigger than the regular text. And this is how it looks like on 100% zoom. So it's looking pretty good. All right. And you can take that. You can change where the hero image is placed. You can change the percentage. I mean, this is 50-50. You can change it to whatever you want. I think this works out really well. Okay. I think we got everything. So let's move on to a second hero section. Or a third one. A second one for today, I guess. What time is it? 2:40. Okay, I still have time. What do I want to do? First and foremost, let's copy this. Hero 3. So this one, I want to do something. It's not as common, but I still see it around. I don't know, quite a bit, but it's there. It's a hero section where you have your full. I mean, you have basically you have the top part, but on the bottom part is basically always fixed to the bottom, and it's a fixed width or height, and that's where you can have your subscribe form, or you can have like your logo salad or whatever it is that you want to have. It's always fixed to the bottom. So it's always going to be dynamic based on, your viewport. So that's what we're going to build. And it's almost going to be identical to this, except I think what we need to do is, I think we also want to make this like a full 100%, have everything full background to be. We'll have the main hero section cover 100% of the width and then like 80% of the height. And then the other section will be 20% of the bottom. And we'll just fix those elements. I think that would be the way to go. Or maybe we can do something even more simple and more flexible, where we can just put it in a grid. And then we can take our grid and we can put that grid at 100%. And that, I think I like that flexibility a lot more than using like absolutely positioned elements. It also really depends on what you want to do afterwards. Questions. Not questions, but just options. A lot of options. What should we do? Did I study to be a designer? And what is your university degree? Yeah, you can kind of see back there, I got some degrees hanging up on the wall. I have a undergrad degree in environmental science with a double minor in biology and chemistry. And then I did my master's degree in biology. So I'm a biologist by trade. And it was funny, in 2005, after I graduated, this is a little bit after I graduated, I was working in a hydrology lab, working as a hydrogeological technician, I think was the official term. And we had deployed a bunch of weather stations out in the field, and we were getting a bunch of data coming in through these stations through telemetry. We just had modems attached to them, and we just call out to the modems to get all this data. And then we're getting this data, and then I said to myself, well, how can we display this data on the web or somewhere where we could actually see what's happening in real time? And this was back in 2004, 2005. And back then, I pretty much hated computers and everything to do about computers. But I always had a keen interest in art and just art illustrations and music and all that kind of stuff. And so I thought to myself, well, maybe I'll just learn how to do this website stuff so that I could figure out how to put things online. And then I started learning about how to make a website and how to build a website. And I just fell in love with it. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I could literally have a blank canvas to design and draw or whatever it is to create things just out of my mind. It blew me away. And this was way back in the day when the huge issue of the day was all the designers were fighting about, do we use tables versus, divs or CSS to structure and lay out a website? It was the craziest thing. There were so many people you have to use tables to lay things out. It was just crazy. Anyways, that being said, so from that moment on, I was hooked, and then I just self-taught and learned everything that I possibly could. And then it just so happened to be that every job that I would get, I would almost kind of merge my science background with my computer skills to get jobs doing web work and creative work in the science field, in academia. So working at University of Waterloo and Dalhousie just most recently. And I've just did some other stuff. I worked at Shopify for a bit. I worked at other startups doing just pure design and development work. And yeah, so I just learned myself. Basically, I have no degree in design whatsoever. I taught myself. Been doing it again for about 15 years now. So yeah, and I just love it. So yeah. Anyways, that's my story. You can see why I'm suffering with design. The same thing does to me. I have a degree in law and economics at university. I will say though, in terms of design, I have a lot of things in my mind that I know what I want, but sometimes it just takes a little bit to get from my mind to the screen. So I don't know if you mean suffering in terms of that I don't understand it. I would say that I know design, typography, color theory, all that kind of stuff, way more than I know science. But I know science quite a bit. Because I studied web design and stuff for, it's been my full-time profession now for 15 years, right? So I think I'm pretty good at it. But anyways, I totally see the point in terms of me being live and struggling and whatever. So anyways, but yeah, that's crazy too. Cause you have a degree in economics and law, which is crazy. Congrats, by the way. That is awesome. Okay. Yeah, I see. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You just always kind of have to figure out, it's definitely one thing to just be able to draw and illustrate, which I'm not the greatest at, but I love doing. And then being able to use technology to be able to articulate that in a design. Yeah, it's very interesting. But yeah, economics degree in law. That's pretty crazy. Are you trying to are you wanting to just get out of that industry because you just don't like it anymore or what have you, and you just feel like you want to do computers more. So I'm curious as to why you don't want to pursue that, or is there just a lot of people doing that and not much opportunity as well, which could definitely be a thing. But I love it. I love the idea of, and maybe this is more of a sign of the times, where it used to be, a person would get one profession and then just do that for the rest of their life until like that's it, right? But for me, I love the idea of like, I just love learning and learning, experiencing new things. So when you get to a point where you're doing something, you do it for so long, and then it's like, okay, well, what else is there in the world? What else can you learn? So when people jump from like different careers or different paths that are totally different, I think that makes you a much more well-rounded person, because you just get experience from all kinds of different angles, and the more you learn, it's just really good. I just love the idea of just always learning and always growing as a person, because the growing never stops. I mean, that's the whole idea behind the whole name of unconventional mindset, is just, you don't think about things in the world in a little bit of a different way than other people do. And a big part of that is always striving to grow and to be better. So you left the practice of law a long time ago. Felt comfortable defending undesirable people. Yeah, I could see that. That's a tough one. I mean, if people do bad things, people do bad things. They certainly, there's also, obviously, you're a lawyer, innocent until proven guilty. So everyone should get the right to have their day in court. But it's also those guys that are just like, you just know they're bad. They did it, or whether, I don't know if, that they did it or whatever, and they're just bad people. And it's like, oh my goodness. Yeah. These are deep philosophical questions that, this is way out of my pay grade. Yeah, that's a tough one. But you hear on YouTube too, a lot of lawyers like, yeah, I used to do this kind of stuff, and yeah, it just kind of weighs on you, defending the guilty. But if you put it in the mindset that I've heard other people put in the mindset of, everyone deserves the due process, and everyone deserves to be treated equally under the law. And then they're like, that's what I do, which is crazy. I remember watching this movie. I love movies, by the way, so I always talk about movies. Actually, I haven't in a while. Anyways, what's the movie called? It's with Richard Gere. And, what's it called? Primal Fear. It's Primal Fear. And he's defending Edward Norton because he was convicted or caught for murder, whatever. And then one of the guys, he defends criminals, like really bad guys, but he's really rich because I guess he's really good. And one of the journalists, he's following him around, and he asks him a question. And he's like, why do you do it? Why do you defend people that are guilty, people that did, have done really horrible things? And I think he gets drunk and he finally says, he's like, yeah, I love it because the money's good and because I love the fame. But he's like, and his whole speech was, I think people just do some really bad things, and, they deserve someone to represent them. I think it was something along those lines. Anyways, I don't know. I'm totally rambling. Let's get back to work. I just love that movie. That was a great movie. Back on point here. Yeah, thank you. Dividing the hero into two parts. You can put the upper part. I've definitely done layouts using calculations and things like that. But again, for this, I really want to do simplicity. And if a user is going to want to do that kind of stuff when they have this hero section, I think they're more than welcome to do that. But that's not something that I want to hard code into this. Although I think now that you're talking about the second idea of the second hero that we're going to be working on, maybe. So hang on. So 70 to minus 70, the height of the header. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll leave complex calculations. Complex. I'll leave that to the user. I think that's going to be the best way to go. Simple. I remember what you told me the other day of keeping things super simple, keeping them basic. But I think, yeah, having a hero section that has all that stuff kind of pre-built, that would be kind of nice too. But that would be a very more niche kind of hero section that has the hero section, also the header, and just other different components as well too. Okay, right. Hero 3. Let's get on with this one. Let's delete this. Let's go hero 2 for this one. And we actually want to, I'm just going to remove all of this for now. So we're full screen here. And so this hero 2, we're going to, let's see what we can do here. No gap. And we're going to, and we're going to do 2 rows. Right, and then for this row, we can put it at, say, something like 70 VH, and then the second row at 20. So then you're going to get, oh, that's obviously expanding because of this image. But if we just delete that, there we go. Yeah, so so if you help people get the elements ready just to change text and images, it would be more commercially attractive. I'm not going to disagree with you. I agree with you 110%. And as we said before, I think there's for this initial launch, again, the initial launch, there has to be a happy medium where I can target 80% of the people with 20% of the effort, right? So I can get most of the things that people would want ready to go. And then for the 20%, once we launch, I can start developing and designing and releasing more components that will meet those more simple use case scenarios, right? So yeah, I think it's a question of time and how much time do I have to make all these components before I actually launch. And I'm going, remember what you said, I think it was even just yesterday, of don't be a perfectionist, and don't make sure everything doesn't have to be perfect when you launch. And when we launch, we don't have to have every single thing under the sun completely done. But things like this, yeah, we want everything to be responsive, everything to be as good as we can with our SEO, and alt text and titles and all that kind of stuff. We'll have that ready as much as we can, and then go from there and grow from there. And as people start using pixel pieces and start giving us feedback, then we can figure out what are the things that make the most sense for us to start to build and to try to build. So, I mean, I 100% agree with you. Like, having components that are 100% out the box will be really, really nice. And I think that eventually will be the goal. But I could sit here, work for a year straight, just developing a bunch of components and not even releasing anything, because it'll never be ready, right? I hope that makes sense. I mean, at least that's the way my mentality is and how I want to approach this. Because yeah, I will work for forever until I actually release something and get something done. Okay, so we have our grid here for this layout. And let me just real quick here. I need to change these classes. Okay. I can't rename them. Oh, shit. I screwed up everything. Because this is Hero 2. So that completely changed this one. It did. Okay. Shit. And now I changed the page, so now I can't undo what I did. Oh. Shit. All right. All right, let's fix this. We got to fix this. So, shit, how do we fix this? Let's just delete that. Okay. So it was a grid. I think it was this. It definitely wasn't this. It's just auto. There we go. And we had 2 columns. Oh, and I screwed up my whole component, my whole spacing here. I think it was here. What was the padding? I think it was 5. And then 2.5. Was it padding or was it margins? I don't remember now. Okay, that fixes that. Let's go back here. Okay. So let's change this. Let's rename things appropriately here before we go off and do crazy things. Hero 3. Grid. Right. 2 grid. No, 1 column, 2 rows. 80. And then 20. And no gap, not pixels. Relative units are going to be done. And we're just going to throw it out of there, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay. Excellent. So now, right here, this is Hero 3 content. We're going to go Hero 3 subtitle. I think we had this, and I think we had our size. Our font size was medium. We're going to go with Hero 3 subscribe form. Actually, you know what? We're going to need to take that out and cut and paste it. Hero 3 image container. I'm just going to call that footer for now. I don't think that's the appropriate name, but and so what can we throw in this footer area? Should we throw, I feel like the subscription form is common in this section. Also with this. But I also feel like a logo stream, soup or whatever would be common as well. What would be the most appropriate to put in there? I think what we can do is we can keep this up here like this. And then down here below, I think we'll put in a place for logos. Because that's fairly common, right? But there's also lots of ways people are going to put those logos. Maybe that doesn't make sense. Maybe that doesn't make sense because something like that is so like we're going to have to make components for like sliders and like image sliders. Yeah, I don't think it makes sense to put it here. We're going to have to come up with our own stuff. Okay. Let's go back to here. Let's delete this. Remove these styles. Paste. Client first. Rename this to Hero 3. All right, excellent. So copy this. Let's take this back here. Delete this one. Paste this one. Excellent. Here's where we always get some issues with the styles, but that's easy to fix. Message, and then is error, and of course with the button. Okay, so the only change we need to make is this hero content section. Here we should definitely add some padding. 5 would be too much, maybe 3. And I think, oh yeah, I am going to move this down into here. And then yeah, this could still stay in the middle. I was thinking of centering this, but yeah, would that look better? Would that look better if everything's like this? Then we could go a step forward and align everything and center. Oh, this isn't aligning. We'll have to. That might be better. But I like having some variety because, at least for what people can see, because if this hero section, everything's centered, but having this other one to view just shows a little bit of difference. I'll think about it. So this one here, we also want to throw in we can actually probably throw in a class. Well, no. Well, we might. I was thinking of giving this a similar class so they're all spaced out evenly and you just have to update one class. I have to think about that as well. Let's give this one a little bit of a background color so people can see and know that it is different or that it's in a different section. And for whatever reason, that's not spanning the whole height. So I think we're going to have to give this 100%. There we go. If we give this 100%, it's still not aligning in the center. So I think if we go to distribute, no. Grids always make things a little bit more difficult. No, this one should work because this goes to the bottom. This goes to the middle, which we don't want. We want it in the middle. Why is it not spacing in the center like that? There's no other paddings. It's only that thing that's causing an issue. Why is that? If I look at the grid, none of that is working. Something's up. Something's up. Because that one is behaving as it should. This one aligns center. Perfect. But this one, when I align it center, I guess it worked. If I put it at 100%, it's not going to go. Okay, so, but then how come the background isn't covering everything? It's only covering where there's text. Oh, unless, could it be? No. There's something weird with how this thing is interpreting. There's this blue line up here for the Hero 3 content. And here's the Hero 3 footer. Right, it's wrong. And it just has to do with the background. So why is the background not spanning the top and bottom? Oh, what the heck happened? A playback error happened. I don't even know if I'm live anymore. I'm just looking at my screen here and I have this big error. I'm just going to check my phone just to see if I'm still live. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. So I can still see myself. It's just YouTube is throwing this huge error, so I can't even see the stream anymore. It says a playback error has occurred. Okay, so I am still live. But I just can't see myself. Okay, well, this is weird. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Sorry, this is really weird. I don't even know. I guess I could share my screen. So I'm getting this. So I have this huge playback error, whatever that means. So that's what I see. So if you guys can still see me, then that's good. I'm just going to keep this open. I should probably do this all the time, is just keep my stream open. So I can kind of see to make sure that I'm actually live. Anyways. Okay. So I'm going to keep going. Right. What's the problem? Right. The problem is this is grid, but yet when I add a background to this Hero 3 footer section, it's not spanning 100% of the top and bottom of the actual grid container. So, but if I want it to span 100%, oh, you know what I could do? Because the height, I know exactly what the height is. The height is 20 VH. So if I set the height, okay, so that sets, but then it doesn't center the content where I need it to be. Whether I align it, I lose the ability to do any kind of alignment, which is really annoying. Maybe that'll work. No, I could center, I could go bottom, I could go top, I can do this. So this has to be an issue with the grid. So instead of grid, I mean, I guess I can do flex. But actually, I much prefer grid. Because I know what I can do. This is a hack. I can surround this in another container, and I could make that container 100%. And then I could just add a background to that. And then there we go. That'll add the background color. But that's not very intuitive to a user. And if we did this, so if we did it this way, yeah, we'd make this vertical, but then we'd have to alternate each individual one. So we'd have to set this, this to 100%, and then the height to 80. And then the hero, we set that to 20. You want to set your width to 100%. And then I guess from there, can we align things vertically through here? We might even have a problem because I don't know if actually flex does give us, this is, what's going on here? You have defined the space that the div covers from 1 to 1. Delete it. Space that the div covers. Which div? Yeah, I did something wrong somewhere. I'm sure of it. Okay, just don't know where. Why is this thing not working? Let me refresh. Okay. Oh, this won't even let me do anything. And the footer. So the space that the div covers, I got a 100% height of 20 VH. Was this before maybe when I was trying in the grid? Yeah, okay, yes, when I was doing in the grid. Okay. Maybe I'll revisit that. Because flex, I don't think this is the way I want to go. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not the way I want to go. We have our floating. I mean, this is basically the functionality that I want. It's just how do we get there? What's the best way to get there? I mean, you could also do it without having. So what exactly am I trying to do? I'm making a hero section where the top content is going to cover 80% of the vertical height and the bottom is going to cover 20% of the vertical height. So it's basically making the footer section here. I'm going to call it the footer of the header or the footer of the hero. I'm going to make that basically be a sticky at the bottom of the viewport when you load up a website. Not sticky for forever, but just when you load a website. So the whole background is going to be a full 100% viewport covering, but just have this little edge at the bottom where that's going to be like your sign up form, or it's going to be like a logo salad or, a gallery of the logos. That's what I'm trying to do. And yeah, I've done it a million times before. But I actually just realized that I haven't actually done it in Webflow before without doing some type of absolute positioning. Because I like to avoid absolute positioning if I can, because I find a lot of people can get confused with it, myself included, when you have a lot of different elements interacting for positions on your page. So if we can do it in something simple like a grid layout, that would be really ideal. So we have it here in a flex layout, but I think this is a little bit too much, more than what I would want to do. So I'm going to take it out of flex and I'm going to put it in grid again. And then, whoops. And so we have 80 vertical height and 20 vertical height for our rows. And those are our 2 rows here. So we have it here. So this is the content area. This is aligned center. So that justifies this Hero 3 content right in the middle, up and down vertically. And if I do this for this section, that works as well. So that's perfect. This is exactly 100% what I want. And of course, a user could center these things or whatever. I mean, those are design choices. But the problem that I'm having right now is I want to add a background to this Hero 3 footer section. And when I add a background to it, just so people can differentiate the two. Where's the background? Background. So I add a background to it like this. But the problem is that it's not spanning the whole height of its container. It's just spanning what it has, like what content is actually in here, whatever space that's taking up. So, and I know I could solve this really easily by just putting this inside of a div. And in here, I should just be able to make this 100%, 100%. Oh, maybe not. Or, oh, that isn't going to go either? Well, that would be really weird. Hang on a second. Let's clear this one. Oh, hang on a second. I just got a quick text coming in. Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. Right, so grid repeat auto fit. Yeah, so it's very similar to that. So that section right here on this hero div, that one's okay. We're fine there. So that's good. And adding padding. The problem with adding padding is that we don't know what the size is of this container, of this Hero 3 footer section. And it's going to be different depending on the size of the person's browser or viewport. So we just need to add something on the inside here. So this here is also not taking up the whole space of this. So what we could do, and I don't know if this is the greatest to do. So we can make this relative and we could take this div block, which is just a background holder. So instead of making it 100% here, we can just display it or position it absolutely. Where's the positioning here? Here we go. No, not absolute. Relative. No, absolute. But fixed to our hero, and we just go full screen for it. I think. That doesn't seem to be working. Oh, right. Then I think I have to pull this out and not have it inside. So this should be, but now it's still not taking up the whole space of the hero footer. What the hell? This is driving me insane. That's not right. This should go the full width of the hero element, but it's not. This is very suspicious. Something weird's going on. Right, because the... So the grids, we have the CSS, which identifying the size of the grids. But those Hero 3 sections, these guys also have, I mean, they're div tags. And then they're being associated a height to them. Oh, maybe they're not. Maybe they're not, right. Yeah, there's no actual element in there that's for, okay, it's making sense now. I'm not saying that. Okay. So why am I using divs instead of containers to divide the hero section? Do you mean like actual Webflow containers? Is that what you mean? When it comes to the native Webflow containers and sections, I prefer not to use them because some of them, they have like an underlying CSS associated with them, which you don't know what it is, and they just do some weird things with layouts. So I just avoid them. And then you could just use a div tag, and then you could change it in the settings of what type of div it is, like if it's a footer or like a side or whatever it is that you can put in the different tags, the HTML5 tags, right? So that's why I just use the bare div. Exactly right. There's some type of margin on the bottom and the top, and that's because when you're defining the grid and you're saying this one's going to be 80% and this one's going to be 20%, whatever, 80% and 20%, it's actually defining the space of the grid, but there's no actual element that's in there that is like, it doesn't occupy space in the DOM, I guess, is what I'm thinking. And then when you have these elements here, like this H2 and this hero, that's taking up space in the DOM. And then like that's all that's in that container of that grid block. So what we have to do is we have to define it at 100%. Yeah, that's the only way. That's the only way we can do this. So, but if we just, so we need to, because we need to make this take up 100% of its containing element. But then when we lose that, we lose the ability to vertically align it. So then to do that, we have to Control-Alt-G. My shortcut keys are not working. Refresh here real quick. And where are we? Where's my... Yeah, pin this. Jeez. Okay. So put that in a div, this in a div. And now, I don't think this will even work either. Oh no, we're still gonna have issues. So I'm thinking maybe if we display this one as flex as well, and then in this box, then we position this in the middle. There we go. Now we can have what we want. And then we can take this hero section and then we can give it a background color of neutral light. And then there we go. Now we have everything as it should be with this content evenly positioned in the middle of this hero section. So the only additional thing that I needed to do, or that we needed to do, is to add this like container part to contain all of this stuff. And that should work. So let's play this. And away we go. Then of course we need to add some kind of, CSS depending on like the height and all that kind of stuff to make it look nice. But yeah. There we go. That's what we wanted. And probably have this maybe like a full screen image. There's lots of things we can do. Maybe there's an image on the side here, or maybe there's an image on the background. I don't know. There's lots of different ways that we can do this. So I'll finish this up tonight, and maybe make a couple different versions depending on what I'm going to have on the background or not. With that being said, I still can't see anything. It's 3:30. I have to turn into a pumpkin. I do need to go. It's time to go for a walk with my lovely wife, of course. And yeah, so I'm going to leave it there. Rolando, thank you so much for your help today. I really appreciate it. Honestly, truly, honestly, very, very helpful. And I really appreciate it. So thank you so much. And to everyone else who's watching now or later, thank you again for tuning in. And as always, we'll be back here again tomorrow for a brand new stream. Until then, have yourself a wonderful day, and we'll see you then.